anime is a wealth of epic fights, spirit-lifting moments, absurd cuteness, and so much more that's good and wholesome. Sometimes. But what about the moments in anime that don't end so well or showcase the darkest mindset of a character? The ones that make you question not only what you've seen, but maybe even yourself. It happens quite a lot when you love depressing anime like me, and that somber feeling of loss, defeat, or failure from a story is like no other. Today we'll be celebrating those terrible moments with 5 more amazing failures in anime. Now this video will contain spoilers, so each section will have a timestamp on screen at the start. That way you can skip any series you want to stay unspoiled for. But anyway, let's get into things here. Number 5. Kill la Kill. Studio Trigger's breakout and best hit, Kill la Kill is a mess in mostly the best ways. There's moments where the limited resources show through, but in traditional Trigger style, they turned most anime's flaws into something of its own. I think the peak of this formula is in episode 12 with the reveal of Ryuko's end goal, the identity of who killed her father. She'd been fighting up the ranks of Honnouji Academy for weeks with this in mind, from low-level goons to the highest-ranking members, and then it's just there. Nui shows up and says, "Nope, that was me, I'm the one who ruined your life." Naturally, Ryuko doesn't take too kindly to this, going into a full-on rampage fueled by an out-of-control Kamui. The design of Rampage Ryuko is something I love about this moment, breaking the over-sexualization that thrives in the anime, whether you believe it to be thematically relevant or simple fan service. For a moment, it seems to tone some of the things the anime is all about down on a climactic upswing and say, no, this is about something else right now. And it really is. Like we said, this reveal breaks the motivation of the main character with half the runtime of the anime left. Where does it go from here? And not just that, it breaks down the simple form of Kill la Kill. It was Ryuko versus the school, but these subtle cracks broke wide open to show third and fourth and maybe even fifth parties involved in this all-out war. It's chaos, plain and simple, as Ryuko fights Nui, who fights Nudist Beach, while also fighting Satsuki, and eventually Ryuko being saved by Mako, compiling the uncertain nature of the future and setting the stage for the all-out war of the next episodes. To its core, this moment is very Trigger. Not just full-on chaos and explosions that would make even Michael Bay blush, but also interrupting those things. Taking a literal wave of power between Ryuko and Satsuki and having Mako swim through it and slap some sense into her friend. Quite literally. It's a mix of epic action, stupid comedy, and a deserved heartwarming moment. Not many anime ruin their serious moments in such a pleasing way. Maybe it's just the idea of Trigger being able to do so that makes this happen, but I'll always believe there's some truth to their magic, even when it might not work out so well in some of their more recent anime. But not many moments show off that Trigger magic and some genuine narrative prowess better than this one. Number 4. Yorman God. Yorman God isn't the most tactful anime. It spends a lot of time exploring its ideas through blood and gore, sometimes to a betterment and sometimes to a detriment. But in that duality, we get the best character in all of anime, Koko Hekmatyar, one of the world's leading arms dealers who commands a squad of the best and most dedicated soldiers. This includes Jonah, a child soldier who hates war but knows nothing else. So he's forced to keep fighting and killing with nothing else at his disposal. But there's a twist. This arms dealer who perpetuates war, she hates it too. Her end goal is world peace, and her dealings are just a means to that end. Over years, she's been building the foundation of Yorman God, a plan which seeks to send the world back to the Stone Age, halting modern faculties, including the weapons used to wage war and the methods of their distribution. Koko's a smart, dedicated, and endlessly resourceful woman. She gave her life and soul to this plan, using man's warlike nature to destroy that concept from the inside out. But she's also a little bit insane, tortured from being the thing she hates, from seeing endless destruction and violence and attempts on her life from all sides. Her plan would lead to planes dropping out of the sky, taking an immediate and huge death toll, something she openly accepts and admits. There's also other potential consequences the anime never explores, like the halt of trade, food and water, the necessities of life. Is this acceptance goodwill, or just years of her ego from never being told no? Should we say that one person can look at this cost and call it worthwhile and apply it to humanity? Jonah sees the other side when she admits this plan, believing a scheme which would kill so many to be wrong at its very core. He becomes one of the first people to ever tell her no, and runs away, leaving her empty and distraught. He was a soldier, but pure at heart and steadfast in his love of humanity, even when it hated him. Through war and torture, he could never say he hated the world. He was Coco's test. If this child could agree to her plan, then who of pure intention couldn't? She tested everyone at times, but he was the go-ahead, and she failed. This moment not only ties together Coco's character, showing her cunning, insanity, and the very fabric of her soul alike, but the debate to be had around it is stellar. They never say if it's right or wrong, if it would succeed or not, but offer up every side and let us think on the rest. I respect that, and as a failure by Coco, it provides a lot more narratively than any success could. Number 3. Doraemon. Doraemon is an anime I feel like I shouldn't love. It's goofy, narration overloaded, character heavy, includes more stomping on phones than I ever imagined, and yet it all works. And one of the best aspects of this is Celty. From iconic design and recognizability to the fabric of her character itself. Latex! Just kidding, I mean what's under that layer. At its most basic, Celty's story is one about the idea of self. An ancient Irish Dullahan who got separated from her head, she fears that without it she may not be herself. She may change into someone else or forget her past, like she already has to some degree. Maybe she's already someone else entirely and just doesn't remember. These questions plague her existence and likely ours as well. Over time, we lose friends, make new ones, change jobs, move cities, and so many things to shift who we are. It's gradual, so we never outright notice, but over time we become different. It's something we recognize in other people, just not in ourselves. At what point then are we simply someone else? It's like the ship of Theseus. If you slowly replace every part of something over time until it's all new, is it even the same anymore? Celty dresses differently, lives somewhere new with strange people, and takes on a different job. There's no way to scale her on this crisis of self, and so she's lost. Life is passing her by as she clings to the past, unable to see the future while she's looking back, worried. It's ironic for someone who drives so fast that she's really going nowhere. Until episode 11, where she lets loose, turning from a mythical occurrence in this strange city to a documented monster in the very fabric of it. She flies down into a crowd, revealing her form and power alike, commanding the attention of the city and ensuring they'll remember her forever. From hiding in the past to presenting herself clear as day. I call it a failure because for who she was, it is. For what her goals were, it is. You could even classify all of her time in Japan as a failure. She never found her head for so long, and this was the culmination of that failed search. But she had friends, admirers, adventure, and love all before her, yet accepted none of it in her search until now. She ignored the present for fears of the future, losing herself to the worry of becoming someone different. It's ironic and a cautionary tale. If we spend all day trying to keep ourselves the same, then won't that just make us someone new anyway? Doraemon might not always have the most tact or eloquence, but Celty's story is the highlight of the anime. Number 2. Soul Eater. I think I say this every time, but Soul Eater is one of the few gateway anime that holds up. Most of them I look back on with a heavy but Soul Eater always gets a little bit more out of me. And a lot of that is probably from Stein. He has a few great moments, with one of the best coming in his fight versus Medusa as the Kishin awakens. The embodiment of madness, the Kishin holds the power to overcome the sanity of anyone close to it. And what happens when that power collides with one of the strongest Meisters, a man already susceptible to insanity? Well, naturally, we get nothing. The fight devolves into a staring contest as Stein sutures Medusa in place and to maintain it himself as well. It's odd that a fight centering around the release of madness becomes something so calm and subdued, where words reign above blows until a psychological opening appears and the battle can be concluded swiftly. Stein tells part of his story in the prelude to this, explaining that he was always mad and terrified of it. And so he needed something to limit that, and what he chose was a god, something he could follow that would keep him in check. Despite relating to Medusa, this is what keeps him on Lord Death's side. If he let loose to his desires at all times, there would be no man left, only a monster. But that's also where his strength is. If he's tame, then he would be bested by witches like Medusa easily. Simply to survive against her, he had to follow his wish to dissect above all, even stopping the Kishin. He wins the battle, but fails the war, celebrating the return of his former gusto while the icon of insanity escapes into the greater world. Is it just the aftershock of the Kishin, or is this Stein? Is he the man who is limited by himself, or the one struggling to get out and fulfill himself? Is this madness what he is, or the factors of the situation he found himself in? This personal mystery makes him all the more dangerous and uncertain, capped off with his statement that he and Medusa could never understand love. Maybe it's not the most graceful scene in anime, but I love these two characters, each witnessing and reveling in the surfacing of each other's madness. With the over-stylization indicative of Soul Eater front and center, the flip of expectation in this fight, and the underlying development it brings, I thought it was a quite fitting entry for our list today. Number 1. Steins Gate. There's nothing else that would take this spot for me, save maybe Evangelion's Asuka moment that we covered in the last list. Steins Gate is a fantastically emotional anime down to the last few moments. A triumph of the human spirit above fate, above the dangers of science, and above a fractured concept of self. But what if it wasn't? What if they got so close and it never succeeded? All of the suffering and pain of endless time loops only to give up before the goal. This is what the opening moments of Steins Gate 0 explore. What if Okabe never saves Kurisu? Okabe is one of the most interesting characters in anime, a man split between himself and Hoenn Kiyoma who bends time to account for his own flaws, to keep the few friends he has. The very inception of Kiyoma is to provide a distraction for Mayuri, and he applies this to everyone in his life, avoiding deep interaction but maintaining friendships at the same time. He doesn't know where he stands or how to really interact or what to do with his life, but the Kiyoma persona gives some of this to him. It's a tool to keep existing. When Steins Gate closes, he finds the middle ground between Okabe and Kiyoma, resting in the nice pocket with the benefits of each. When Steins Gate 0 flips the script and opens for real, Kiyoma is dead. All of the hope that's present is sucked out, leaving only sadness and loss, a true vacuum. This isn't about overcoming fate and paying the cost of science and finding yourself. It's about losing to fate, allowing science to rule a moral and becoming something unrecognizable. The lab coat on the floor, the last remnant of Kiyoma in this world, discarded. He failed. Knowing how close he was from the original series, seeing Okabe's look and demeanor completely change is heartbreaking. Where he supported Mayuri, now she supports him. Where he failed to interact before, now he does so with ease. These aren't bad things, but they feel so wrong. They feel like thinking back on fond memories of someone who's passed, and that's kind of what it is. Kiyoma was part of Okabe, fiction or not, and now he's gone. Fitting for the overall idea of loss that persists through the entire series. This is a few minutes of a heart-wrenching alternative story bolstered by the knowledge of what it could be in a meta way and what was in a narrative way. a time travel anime playing with alternative realities to downright amazing effect. It's genius anime all around, and the clear number one of this list. This arms dealer who But there's a twist. This arms dealer who perpetuates. Fucking Christ. But there's a twist. This arms dealer who now I can't say. I keep thinking poo-poo when I try to say perpetuates because my lips are stupid. This arms dealer who I can't. I might have to change the word. This arms dealer who perpetuates war, she hates it too.